Hey guys, this is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? It's very stormy. I got some pain going on. That's what happens when you have rheumatoid arthritis. So today I'm going to read The Key of Destiny, and we're going to hit on number 12, which is a huge undertaking. It's a lot. So I'm going to divide it into sections. So this way you're not bombarded, and neither am I. Before I begin, please hit that like button. It helps me. It's free. And sharing's caring. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Also, if you get anything out of my work, if you're getting knowledge, getting light bulbs, epiphanies, downloads, and you have it in your heart to help me out and support me, that'd be amazing. The information is in the box below. A love donation, anything counts. So, with that being said, number 12, the manifested universe. Quote, thus Uriel showed me 12 gates open for the circuit of the chariots of the sun in heaven, from which the rays of the sun shoot forth. The Book of Enoch. Quote, as Pythagoras showed, cosmos was produced not through or by number, but by geometry, following the proportions of numbers, end quote, the secret doctrine, Blavatsky. The number 12 pertains primarily and fundamentally to the complete expression or fruition of the divine Trinity within the circle of its manifestation. We therefore call it the number of fruition or the manifested universe. This is plainly indicated by the fact that the original circle of divine manifestation is marked off in 12 equal divisions by the fourfold expression of divinity. The triangle within it, since 4 is the number of mundane manifestation. The cycle of cosmic expression is not complete until the divine triangle has manifested in fourfold manner. Thus, 3 times 4 equals 12. Also, 12 added 1 plus 2 equal 3, showing that the 12 are all varying manifestations of the Trinity. The necessity of representing the fourfold manifestation of divine triangle within the circle of its manifestation is the fundamental reason for the 12-fold division of the Zodiac and of the cycles of time. This is also the only satisfactory mathematical and philosophical answer to the question, why? Since 10 is a number of completion, the Zodiac is divided into 12 and not 10 signs. It also shows the foundation of the dual decimal system of reckoning. As we said in the Keys to the Universe, quote, Herodotus tells us that the Egyptians founded a system of 12 god theology. Hence, we find in Egypt the duodecimal system, or method of reckoning by 12 in common use. And it is to the use of that system in the construction of the pyramids, to which the origin of the English foot of 12 inches has been traced. Among the early races, the decimal system, or reckoning by 10, was a Stoic and known only to the higher initiates among the priesthood. The 12-fold division may also be looked upon as a threefold manifestation of the 4-element expressions of Godhead, fire, air, water, earth, in the material universe, again showing that the divine cannot manifest completely except in 12-fold manner. We find this truth corroborated by Pythagoras in the sacredness he attached to the decahedron. I got it out. This is a solid figure having 12 equal sides and approaches most nearly all solid figures to the sphere. Hence, it is used to symbolize all forms of created matter, approximate completeness, or the universe as a whole. Pythagoras also represented the logos as a primordial one, or number one, while matter was represented by two, the combination of the two, or the manifested universe, naturally represented by number 12. Since the circle contains 360 degrees, when 4 equilateral triangles are inscribed within it, they divide any circle into 12 equal parts of 30 degrees each. In the zodiac, these divisions are called signs, and each represented by the figure of a fabulous animal, which symbolizes the chief constellation of the star in the sign. The circle of animal figures is called the zodiac because the word zodiac means little animals. Certain exoteric scientists state that these animal symbols were suggested to mind of the primitive man by his observing the heavens and seeing in the constellation the outline of animals chosen. But such a theory is absurd, as that which claims the man was evolved from the purely animal solely from the mechanical action of natural selection, and without the help or influence of the higher orders of spiritual beings, which were his progenitors. For there is nothing in the arrangement of the star groups in the constellations that even remotely suggest, blank page, animals selected. Indeed, the symbols are traced with great difficulty in the heavens, even with the aid of a star map and a knowledge of what it sought. If the forms were at all suggested by the configurations of the star groups, we should expect to find a dipper among the first symbols chosen. But since this is not the case, why were the particular animal forms chosen and applied to the constellations? It's a good question. Simply because these 12 constellations are vehicles through which the 7 great hierarchies of forces pour forth 12 characteristic streams of force into the solar system. While there are many other constellations named after animals such as the dragon, great bear, little bear, Pegasus, etc., all radiating their characteristic forces, yet they are not considered as important because they are not directly within the path or signs of the zodiac. The animals were chosen because their common and well-known characteristics express most closely the intrinsic properties of the currents of force poured forth through the constellations. It must be remembered that the early races, before their complete immersion in dense physical matter, before they put on coats of skin, meat suits, were far more sensitive to the forces of nature than are the modern, fully materialized races. Hence, they responded to and recognized the characteristics of the various currents of cosmic force. The secret of the orderly arrangement and proper designation of these cosmic currents was explained to their initiated priests by the divine teachers by means of the circle of symbolic animals. Hence, it was from the divine source that they received the wonderful science of the zodiac and not from the deductions of their own primitive minds. Philosophically and spiritually, the zodiac is the great circle of manifestation within which the created universe appears. In fact, it is the circle with which we begin our study of the numbers, but now filled with actual manifestation of that which was potential before the unfoldment of the forces within the circle, potencies which were fructified by the descent of the light and brought forth through evolution within the womb of the Great Mother. For cosmically, the circle is the great deep of the zodiac in which the solar system is brought forth, as well as the great deep of waters which covered the earth when it was without form and void. This tiny globe, being but one of the later numerals brought into being in due season by the Spirit of God, moving on the face of the waters of the space. The Chaldeans called the circle of the Zodiac space, or the realm of divine knowledge, because it is the space within which the cosmic system manifests. That is the dwelling place of all intelligent powers which invisibly rule the universe. Our physical sun, as a vehicle of the great light, may be compared to the candle that was lighted when the Elohim said, "Let there be light." Compared to the great spiritual zodiac, the circle in which this candle shines is but as a dot within the greater zodiac. It is a nucleus within the egg of its system, the manifester of its light and life. For the sun is the focus and distributor through which the one life is poured, and from which all physical light and life force proceed. The sun, therefore, contains the essence of all its attendant planets, each of which, as it unfolds, is special nature and sounds its key note and manifests its color and number, expresses one of the cosmic numbers evolved from the mighty circle of creativeness. We might compare the sun to the jewel in the lotus of the zodiac, radiating its white light to each sign. As this light reaches the planets, they break it up like a prism, and each appropriates and embodies one dominant color ray. And while the ray differentiated by each planet is poured out to all the signs of the zodiac, it is forced in a particular sign over which the planet rules. It also has greater power in whatever sign the planet may be transiting, but it is more or less modified by the dominant color of the sign, as well as by the colors of the other planets that may be in that sign. Thus, each sign catches the positive or negative ray of its ruling planet and acts as a great reflector, which sends forth the color ray with all the forces into the creations brought forth under the sign, but modified or tinged by the characteristics of sign through which it passes. The focus into which all these reflected rays are again gathered up after their cycle of differentiation and accomplished unites them again in a one white light. I'm going to put a pause right there. If anybody's ever seen an astrological chart, a natal chart, a birth chart, visually, you could compare what they're talking about there. It's not exact or anywhere near, but like visually, that's what they're kind of talking about. Actually, hang on. I'm going to cover the name because I don't agree with it. Sorry, I got shit on my hands. That's a birth chart. But if you look at the colors, I don't have the website, but it shows all different types of colors and corresponding planets and all that fun stuff. So I figured a visual might help. Hope that did. Each sign contains 3 doors or divisions of 10 degrees, each called decants, each of which is approached by 10 steps and rolled over by a different planet. Thus, the 30 degree of each sign signify 3 steps in evolution, whereas each sign is the vehicle of one of the 12 characteristic forces of the universe. At every 10 degrees, a new cycle or aspect of that force is encountered. For instance, each sign has a planet which rules the sign as a whole, but it also has a sub-rulers, the planets which rule the signs, which from the other 2 members of the same triplicity. Thus, since Aries governs the head, it is called the sign of the thinker and is ruled by Mars. the Sun and Jupiter rulers of the second and third fiery signs as sub-rulers. Its symbolic animal is the ram, hence those born in the sign will exhibit the general characteristics of the animal as well as those of Mars. I'm an Aries. The first 10 degrees are ruled by Mars, whose clear, bright red blends with the purple of the preceding sign Pisces, producing the dark, angry, purplish red, which is so typical of most earthly aspects of the animal nature. The first 10 degrees, therefore, expresses the most pushing and dominating tendencies of the ram, which uses its horns to force its way through the brambles and brush and to fight to maintain its leadership, just as the same division of thinkers use their powers, horns, to overcome all physical obstacles and maintain their leadership in the practical administration of affairs, executives, warriors. The third decadent is ruled by Jupiter, but here the red is darkened by blending with the earth browns of the next sign, Taurus. Hence, these decadent expresses the most muddy and blindly stubborn aspects of the ram. It's true. The natives of this decadent can and will always try to dominate and lead, but their color is more or less clouded. They cannot see clearly and have not the ability wisely or successfully to lead. Hence, they are very unreliable, boldly claiming great powers, but often unable to fulfill their claims. Only in the middle decadent are the forces of the sign balanced. Hence, only here does the pure living stream of the divine life force express it in clear, radiant red, because illuminated by the white light of its ruler, the sun. Therefore, the decadent of Aries represents the pure, gentle, and innocent aspect of the ram, the lamb. This represents the lamb that was slain from the foundation of the world, or from the beginning of the Zodiac, or the divine life force of cosmic Christ, which, having obtained the victory over the lower and more animal expressions of life, pours out or sheds its purified and illuminated life force, blood, that all the world, the whole Zodiac, may be bathed in the blood of the Lamb, and thus be purified and redeemed. I find that very interesting. Only in the matter of decadent of each sign does its pure color manifest, the first and last decadence being modified or tinted by the color of the adjoining sign, which the color of every other planet as it sweeps over a particular sign, or let us say reflector or facet of the Zodiac, casts its color over that of the sign's dominant color, thus modifying and changing it in infinite variety, much as various color lights would be modified when seen through a faintly tainted glass. Thus the Zodiac becomes a mighty kaleidoscope of colors, changing, flashing, and blending in never-ending harmony. If we realize that every color ray thus flashed into these mighty reflectors has its own tone and number, hence its special characteristics, we can gain some conception of scientific principles underlying true astrology, as well as realization of the meaning of the expression, the music of the spheres. I'm going to put a pause there. Also, if you are following the law of one, Ra talks about the octaves of densities and how you need to have its pure color of the ray to move into the next density, because the densities are octaves and then there's sub-octaves, and then well, the colors there correspond with the different rays of our body centers. So red would be the root chakra, and then you need to be in that red ray to receive its full activation. Just putting that one out there. Parallels. Also, each day and night contains 12 hours, each divided into twice 30 minutes, and the minutes into twice 30 minutes. I don't know why they repeated that. Astronomically and astrologically, there is a there is a lesser and a greater zodiac. The lesser zodiac, which is usually indicated when the word is used in the circular zone or belt of constellations in the heavens, through which the earth passes in its annual revolution about the sun. The lesser zodiac is the one upon which Western astrologers base their calculations. Their calculations are based on the fact that the relations between the planets and the signs express periodically recurring manifestations of cosmic forces which affect mankind in characteristic ways. But since the lesser is but a more or less limited reflection of the greater, calculations based upon it can only be general and approximate, as illustrated by the many mistaken specific prophecies made by astrologers concerning the recent world war. They will also outline the character of the forces definitely influencing only those who have not evolved beyond the plane of the lesser zodiac and begun to rule their stars. For the signs exert their influences most markedly upon the outer personality of those born in each, while the planets exert their forces most strongly upon the inner man or higher self. This is why the horoscopes of the spiritually advanced so frequently fail to give a satisfactory delineation of their character. The chief causation influences in their lives act upon the personality, but upon the soul, and come not from the lesser, but from the greater zodiac. The earth requires approximately 1 month to pass through each of the 12 divisions of signs of the lesser zodiac. Hence, we have 12 months in a cycle or circle of the year. The greater zodiac is the greater belt in the heavens through which the sun and its whole system of planets passes in the cycle of this solar year, or magnum annus. Since the sun completes an arc of approximately 50, I don't know what that sign is. It's not degrees. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just going to go with it. Of its vast orbit each year, if we divide the circle of 360 degrees by 50, we obtain roughly the figures 25,920 as a number of years in the magnum annus, or solar cycle. Many modern astrologers and astronomers and astrologers do not recognize the greater zodiac, but consider the cycle to be determined merely by the precession of the equinoxes due to the movement of the pole of the equator around the pole of the ecliptic. But the teaching herein given is corroborated by the ancient Stoic wisdom, once known and taught by the ancient Chaldeans and Egyptians. Instead of passing through each sign of the greater zodiac in 1 month, as does the earth in the lesser zodiac, the sun and its system of planets require a 12th part of 25,920, or approximately 2,160 years, to traverse each sign. This period is called a day or an age. Thus, we have had the Taurian age, when the vernal equinox of the sun appeared in the sign of Taurus, at the close of which occurred the exodus of the Hebrews from Egypt, and during which the bull or calf was object of worship and was represented with the golden disk of the sun between its horns. The Aryan age, during which the ram was worshipped as the symbol of the sun god. The Piscean age, whose symbol of the fish was emblem of the great teacher Jesus, the disciples of whom were all represented as fishermen and called fishers of men. And our solar system has recently entered the sign Aquarius, or the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, referred to in the New Testament as a time of the new dispensation or age. In each of these great ages, the solar system enters new fields in space and encounters new conditions and new streams of force. Therefore, each age brings to the planets a new spiritual and mental, as well as physical dispensation. Hence, the long predicted and most universal belief among all people of a new manifestation of divinity at the beginning of a new Aquarian age. In the person of a divine teacher, avatar, who descends into physical manifestation from the higher realms to become the world teacher for the Aquarian age. Quote, Hazard's explanation that the astronomical phoenix represented the great circle of the stars tells us for the first time that the Sphinx is the sign of the Phena. This sign, Phoenix, named the great sun cycle of 25,920 years. In America, the Mayan priests who claim to have kept all times from the beginning also named their ages by their word for suns and said, we were now well on in the world's third sun or age, or rock. God is named in the Egyptian and Irish way by beehives. He wears 12 balls or beads, Angelican for priests. These names the 12 assistants of deity in all ages. John gives the name of these 12 precious stones as representing the 12 apostles. Thus, number 12 stands for and expresses the entire scheme of manifested creation, the sun and moon, the earth and all the stars of heaven, with the rulers thereof. Each has its appointed place and definite work to do in bringing into physical manifestation and completing the grand plan, that through it the great law, the Lord God of divine love and wisdom may bring forth, and perfect man may be in the image of God. For he telleth the number of the stars, he calleth them by their names. Great is our Lord, law, and a great power by understanding is infinite. As the teacher of the OCM, he says, just as in the trifling period of man's life or of a single day, there are 12 hours, and over these hours there plays the sevenfold manifestations of our life, each emanation in turn bringing its influence into the day, the moment and the second to the infinitesimal point within the second. So it is with the great law manifesting in larger and ever wider circles of manifestation. This is so far familiar that we hear often of the great clock of the ages with its 12 hours and its 7 powers. This great sidereal clock is often called the Zodiac, and each of the signs of the Zodiac is but an hour in this great day period. Quote, like the days in the week and the hours of the day, you will find upon close analysis that the influences of these zodiacal signs, or to speak more correctly, the influences of these angelic rulers of the hours of the heavens, manifest just as distinctively and as perfectly through the periods of the day as in the greater periods of the year. Moreover, every one of the so-called planets, or more correctly speaking, their angelic rulers, rule over and emphasize these periods of the day and bring upon the soul the varying experiences, joys, temptations, and testings, which a careful study of the greater map of the heavens will elucidate and make clear. From the beginnings of time, this great clock of the heavens have marked off its hours, and planetary rulers, the regents of the stars, have passed in grand procession with the torch of their innumerable illumination through the pathways marked out. That which it is true of the little things of life is equally true of the cosmos, and we find through the different races of mankind, these same planetary configurations have ruled. Hence, we find that each of the 7 great races of mankind has been the direct outpourings of one of the great planetary expressions. Now that we understand it, let us consider the races of mankind, each race being the expression of one of the cosmic emanations called the planetary hierarchies. Although in each race, all the hierarchies must manifest. And in each race, the hours symbolized by zodiacal signs are passed through largely as a race. When its hour strikes, or when its day is done, the race sinks into oblivion, and the portion of the globe upon which it manifested is either changed or prepared for the new day, or is swept away according to the hour of the great day or the period or the cycle. We're in it right now. Today we are reaching the time when this great clock of the heavens is pointing to a most important era. The third race of mankind was in reality the first physical race. I speak now of the ancient Lemurians. When its final hour of dissolution struck, the whole continent of Lemuria sunk beneath the waves, and within it the race disappeared. But as the racial hours passed by, certain conditions, we will say, or certain embryonic larva was disposed in the soul of humanity, and that in that thought world, in the psychic realms, which was to be developed and built in the subsequent races. Interesting. I had a pause there, guys. I started getting a migraine. It's the weather. But I also have these stupid blue light glasses, and I can't find my regular blue light glasses that don't reflect everything, so I look a little ridiculous, but when it dissipates, I'll take them off. I just wanted to point that out. Sorry. I know there's huge difference. We are now entering the sixth subrace of the fifth great race. This is the most important of all the subraces of the fifth, inasmuch as we are now planting the seed and preparing for the sixth great race. Very little thought very little thought will convince one that between this third race, which was the first race to materialize or to emerge from the near astral bodies into the denser material bodies, and the sixth race, which is the third hour after it completed the triune manifestation, there must be a very important relation. In other words, on the spiral of evolution, the sixth race stands directly over the third race. It completes the triangle. It is the other diagonal side, the lower, more dense physical horizontal line of the triangle being represented by the fourth race and the fifth. Therefore, it is quite reasonable to suppose that as the hour of the sixth great race is marked out in the heavens, there should gradually come about changes quite as marked as were the changes from the more ethereal bodies into dense physical bodies. But these changes will be in the reverse order. In other words, the more dense physical bodies will gradually merge into more etherical bodies. Bodies in touch with their higher rulings, spiritual emanations of the Godhead, and a continent will also emerge from the great deep, prepare for a race such as we have described. Pause! That's happening now. That's happening right now. It's happening now. Mind you, this was written in the early 1900s. How the hell would they know this? And this is not like a Y2K thing where, oh, everything is going to go. And the 2012 incident, which was actually supposed to happen, but never did because timelines changed. In all honesty, this is actually really taking place. Like everything that is being said right now, I have read in so many other books. And I only came to understand, know about this book through my favorite Jason. I didn't even know these existed. And he got him from another person who's also very amazing. So how would they know this? How would they know this? We are in the 6th cycle. We are going back. If we look at Dr. Michael Salla, he just put something out today with his informant JP about the arcs, in especially the one in the Bermuda Triangle. There's structures under there. Is that going to come up? Is Atlantis and Lemuria both coming up at the same time? We're in alignment with that. Instead of things sinking and going away, things might be rising up. There might be changes to our land masses. But this is why this book is so important, and all the other books that I read as well, because they're pointing out stuff that has been kind of hidden and offset from us for a very long time. It's not that we don't know astrology. I mean, people have written books about it, and tarot cards. I mean, it's a huge thing, but a lot of people don't really look into it. But now it's being more widely accepted. Practices that are not religious necessarily, but I mean, these people were the Christian mystics. Okay, they acknowledged all of these other fascinating things because it is relevant. It's not evil. It's the intention you put into it that makes it evil. But again, we live in duality. You have to have both. The yin yang has to exist in their density. And now we're moving up again. So we are very dense. Now we're vibrating higher. We're becoming and transforming and changing our physical vehicle, whether you like it or not. Just had to throw that in there because I'm really, 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 really excited. I'm just hoping that I am not displaced and I live to see this, because that's what I signed up for. Many of you have as well. As we have said elsewhere, the 12 thrones mentioned in Revelation are the seats of the rulers of the 12 signs of the Zodiac, from which the disciples, or those who have followed the Christ and have sounded his keynote and have come into harmony with the divine spiritual Son, shall rule the 12 tribes of Israel, or chosen people. Israel does not mean that the Jewish tribes were the chosen people of the Lord. It is a symbol of all those who are able to follow their divine guidance, following the divine law symbolized by Moses, the lawgiver. Hence, it refers to any people who have recognized the law and are willing to conform their lives to it. Yes! Yes! Yes. The number 12, the 12 tribes. Quote, the Old Testament is full of allusions to the 12 zodiacal signs, and the whole scheme is built upon it. Heroes, personages, and events. Thus, in the dream of Joseph, who saw 11 stars bowing down to the 12th, which was his star, the zodiac is referred to, end quote. The Secret Doctrine, Blavatsky. Quote, and he put down the idolatrous priests, them also that burned incense unto Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and all the hosts of heaven, end quote. 2 Kings. The zodiac is probably the oldest and most sacred philosophic conception of the manifestation of the divine within his creations, of which we have any record, and with good reason, for its use far antedates the Greeks and Egyptians, having come down to us through them from the ancient Atlanteans. For instance, quote, whether the origin of the zodiac is Aryan or Egyptian, it is still of immense antiquity. Unless the science of the zodiac is admitted to be of the highest antiquity and universality, how can we account for its signs being traced in its oldest theologies? Says, I am bullish. The Assyrians have not only preserved the memorials of 7 and 20 marads of years, 270,000 years, as Hippocrates says they have, but likewise of whole apostasies and periods of 7 rulers of the world. Some of these records, dating back as far as 4,800 years before the Greek era, have been discovered in recent years, and the configurations of the planets given therein have been calculated and confirmed as correct by our modern astronomers. In fact, the Great Pyramid of Giza was constructed on such marvelously accurate astronomical calculations that the main passage leading down to the king's chamber was placed at such an angle that the rays from the pole star of the age shone straight down the passage to rest upon the sarcophagus in the center of the chamber. Nothing could more plainly indicate that the ancient Egyptians possessed a knowledge of the zodiac and planetary influences in many respects more wonderful than that of the present day, although apparently they were without astronomical instruments. The fundamental idea of number 12 relating to the manifestation of the Trinity within a cycle of expression, is clearly shown by the fact that in all religions, whose chief allegory is a symbolic portrayal of the cycle of the sun, physically and also spiritually, we find the founder having 12 great labors, 12 sons of surrounding himself with 12 disciples. Thus, not only are there the 12 sons of Jacob who founded the 12 tribes of Israel, but there are 12 princes of Ishmael, the 12 Olympian deities, the 12 laborers of Hercules, the 12 gods' consents, the 12 governors of the Manchurian system, the 12 disciples of Jesus, the 12 apostles of Osiris, the 12 knights of King Arthur, and the Round Table, Zodiac, the 12 brothers of Averroes, the 12 altars of St. James, the 12 shields of Mars, the 12 asses of Scandinavian. What? Asses of the Scandinavians? What the hell? The 12 sacred cushions, cedar signs on which the deity sits in the cosmogony of the Japanese. There are 12 dimensions to King Solomon's temple and Solomon the sun, and 12 officers' signs over all Israel, which provide victuals for the king and his household. Each man his mouth in a year made provisions. Also, the 12 precious stones in the breastplate of the Hebrew high priest were accounting to the names of the children of Israel, like the engravings of a signet, the engraved symbols of the zodiacal sign. They were also carved upon the 12 wings of the 2 cherubim above mercy seat in the tabernacle, and also the chair of St. Peter in the Vatican. In the Brahmanical zodiac, the signs are all presided over and dedicated to one of the 12 great gods: Aries to Vishnu, Taurus to Yama, Gemini to Pravana, Cancer to Surya, Leo to Soma, Virgo to Karkilid, Libra to Kovem, Scorpio to Kama, Sagittarius to Ganza, Capricorn to Polhor, Aquarius to Indra, and Pisces to Angie. And I'm sorry if I butchered that. These 12 reappear in the Hindu tales, sometimes in dark, sometimes in lustrous forms, as the 12 hours of the day or night, or the 12 moons of the lunar year. In the Hebrew allegory, we find the Trinity of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob expressed and peopling the whole earth, or the circle through the 12 sons of Jacob. This allegory correctly indicates the divine origin of all the races of mankind, and obviously does not refer to the historical origin of the Hebrew nation, for as it well known, there were many nations with far higher civilizations than the Hebrews long before, and as well as at the time of the beginning of the nation. Hence, even subsequent mankind did not all spring from the Hebrew tribes, as was commonly taught before the days of the accurate historical research. The allegory was intended to show that from the beginning there have always been 12 types of cosmic influence manifesting in humanity, each type expressing one of the 12 aspects of the spiritual sun, reflected and through the zodiac. It also symbolizes a humanity has evolved through its various cycles of unfoldment by assimilating the zodiacal influences, the cosmic life force, the symbolic blood of our father Jacob, or the mystic blood of the Christ, through and because of which the whole universe must ultimately be redeemed and or obtained oneness with the divine source. As one writer expressed it, quote, in this allegory is given a minute description of the 12 signs of the zodiac and the divisional houses of the horoscope, the astrological import of which becomes evident in the etymology of the central character. In other words, first, or father, and ram, elevation. Aries the ram is the first division of the zodiac of the 12 signs or tribes, representing the eastern elevation. Hence, according to the Bible, Abram came from the east. Mystically, this takes us back to the point, the beginning of the manifestation or the projection of the Christ spirit and its 12 differentiations or subsiding intelligences upon the plane of the physical existence. Now, the word father, as qualifying the dignity of Abraham, has reference to this subsidial Godhead as applied to Saturn, our Father which art in heaven, was a direct prayer to the paternal principle, and for this reason Christ's son is expressively denominated as a son of Abraham or son of the Father, because the sun is a center or a system about which Saturn describes an encompassing circle. The zodiacal forces, however, must not be regarded as having the compelling power of fate, but as powers furnished man for use in his great pilgrimage through the lower worlds toward his father's house, the perfect mastery of each influence constituting one of his 12 great labors, as well be shown in detail in subsequent chapters. The same meaning is indicated when Elijah cast his mantle upon Elisha, who he saw plowing with 12 yoke of oxen. This symbolized that Elisha had mastered, had harnessed, and was using all the powers of the zodiac to do his plowing or to accomplish his mission on earth, showing that he was ready to receive the mantle of power for the new cycle which followed the old cycle, closing by the passing of Elijah. As we have said elsewhere, we are told that Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eyes was not dim, nor his natural force abated. The figures 120 show plainly that were buried. Sorry, guys. We bury our lawgiver, he must have taught us the wisdom of the completed expression of the divine law, as symbolized by a complete multiple of 12. 10 times 12 equals 120. When the followers of the law have reached the point in their development where they can be taught directly through intuition, tuition from within, and inspiration there have reached the symbolic Jordan. But to cross this mysterious river, they must have a new leader. For even through Moses was divinely appointed for his work. When that work was accomplished, another divinely appointed one is ready to take us the next step onward. When the pupil is ready, the teacher appears. Quote, 12 men were selected by Joshua, one from each tribe, each to take a stone out of the bed of Jordan with which to erect a memorial. This refers to the complete consecration of all of our faculties, tribes, with which we must find and take out of the bed of Jordan and out of the very spot where the ark rests, the 12 stones for our memorial, end quote. Quote, the gathering of the 12 stones, while consisting of spiritual experiences, will nevertheless make its mark in the foundation of our character. They will not consist of great physical or psychic events, which all our friends and neighbors can see and appreciate, for we have passed over Jordan in spiritual consciousness. Hence, it is useless to try to tell anyone of it who has not had a similar experience, and much talking of it wastes its force. The only way we can truly testify to having passed over is by the presence of the stones of truth we have brought with us from the midst of the river and used to build a Korin, or a sacred testimonial in our character, which shall be so solid and firm and foundation that it is like the everlasting rocks on which the earth's crust is laid. For no matter how much philosophy we have grasped, no matter if we have sat on the feet of a master and been taught from his lips, no matter if our psychic faculties are developed and we can speak with the tongues of men and angels, unless our lives show evidence of great poise, common sense, patience, and consideration for others, and unless we have the charity or the love which is more than love, as it is generally understood, we have not gathered our 12 stones from Jordan and built our memorial. Sorry for the noise, guys. I have really noisy neighbors. Quote, it is in the little everyday affairs that we must prove that our house is built upon the rock. Long before the winds blow and the rain descends and the floods beat upon our house, we will know, and most of our acquaintances will know, if we have not built upon our 12 stones. For every little disturbance, we go to pieces or grow discouraged, cannot bear disapproval, must be flattered and admired. In short, demand and suffer acutely if we do not receive great consideration from others. But having gathered our 12 stones and built our memorial upon them, we are ready to give all the glory of the achievement to the Lord, whose power enable us to cross over dry shod. Then when our children or our friends ask, what mean these stones? We can answer that they are testimonials that we have passed over Jordan dry shod, for the Lord dried up the waters from before us, that all the people of the earth may know that the hand of the Lord is mighty. That 12 sons of Jacob refer to the cycle of the sun passing through the 12 signs of the Zodiac is evidenced by passing through the 12 signs. The fact that the banners carried by the tribes bore the symbols of their representative zodiacal signs is further evidence for the forecast of that which shall befall you in the last days given by the dying Jacob to his sons, each forecast being a description of the characteristics of the sign indicated. To emphasize this point, and even at the risk of some repetition, we quote from what we have said elsewhere in this subject. Quote, as Israel meaning soldier, champion, or power of God, Jacob summons to his deathbed his 12 sons who are succeeded him, He blessed them and prophetically assigns to each his place and work in the age then dawning. Symbolically, the 12 sons of Jacob, the 12 disciples of Jesus, and the 12 months in the cycle of the year, to the 12 signs of the Zodiac, which rule the several months, sons and disciples. At the beginning of each age, these 12 sons become the sons of the man who has prevailed and is blessed by him and are sent forth. Jesus also called his 12 together and blessed them and gave to each his work. When we obtain this point in our individual ongoing, we are no longer ruled by the signs, but call or gather their forces together, for now we are able to bless and direct and guide them toward the fulfillment of the divine plan, end quote. Quote, the 12 tribes of Israel are therefore 12 aspects of the power of God, which are sent forth to accomplish their ultimate work in evolution in each age, the power which draws upon all things that are down and assists all things that are in the heavens to descend into manifestations on earth in glory. The physical manifestations and embodiment of the power is the physical sun, but it is human embodiment is the awakened soul who can grasp the end of the beginning and work with the end in view, end quote. Quote, the new age will have 12 leaders and 12 seats, all in their true place around the sun. Only when each of the 12 have lifted up its banner and has reflected the ray of the divine truth so brightly that at least a number who belong under that banner will gather together and learn from the leader of their tribe the golden precepts of understanding and the great ladder of life evolution. Only when each has taken the very stones in his path, the hard hearts, the misunderstandings and the cruelties of life, and out of them has begun to build a careen of sacred memory consecrated to the God of gods. The mystic meaning of the 12 stones of the Druid's sacred circle, or the 12 cranes, shall all be represented in the circle. Only as each learns that cooperation and brotherhood means each soul worshiping with his whole heart and giving of his life and substance in his own place and under his own banner, all signing together a paean of praise and admiration to one central sun. Only then can the great teacher descend into the objective manifestation among men, end quote. Quote, today, each of the 12 tribes have heard the command of the great law. Go forth and gather out of the tribe the children of the Lord, those who have fulfilled the law, who have not bowed the knee to Baal, and who have not received the mark of the beast in their foreheads, nor in their hands. Not only are all the nations of the world standing today before the judgment seat of the ages, but each nation, nay, each individual must consciously or unconsciously respond to the force that is today drawing them to the center of all being, the center of the circle. And in that drawing, each is passing through a mighty test, the seal placed by the angel on the foreheads of the chosen ones in the light of understanding, which shines in the eyes of everyone who has found his or her true place and tribe, end quote. Scary enough, I was told I had that angelic seal on my head. Quote, the New Jerusalem, which St. John saw when he was led to the mountain by the angel. The mountain symbolizes a higher condition of consciousness, a wider view, and the shape of the cube with 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels and names. Written on the gates were the names of 12 tribes of Israel. On the east, the north, the south, and the west were 3 gates. The wall of the city had 12 foundations, 12 gates garnished with 12 precious stones, representing the 12 patriarchs, sons of Jacob. So guys, I'm going to leave it there. That's a lot. Next time we'll go into the 12 disciples. But crazy. The information coming out of this book is absolutely relevant for the here and now. Big time. Big time. It is very important for all of us to know that this is the age that we are rising in consciousness, that we are now accepting paradigms and perceptions and thoughts that haven't been taught to us before. And all this lost knowledge, not that it's lost, but it's being now like re-brought out into the universe because it's truly needed to understand all the learnings and teachings that have been taboo or claimed occult that were just being followed by our ancient ancestors. So we need to take into account that we can't really now judge these practices because it's the foundation of our universe. It's the foundation of material man. So I hoped all of you enjoyed this section. Number 12 will be continued. I can only imagine how much further the 12 disciples will go. But I hope all of you have a great Memorial Day weekend. Please pray and send thanks to those who have suffered the ultimate sacrifice, no matter what country you're in. Those people did fight for you in your alleged freedom, because we're not free. But in the back of the day, they gave us as much as they could. Hopefully, I can get another book in. My neighbors are being exorbitantly loud with their, I don't know what they're doing. And my migraine goes away. So sending each and every one of you love and light. Please don't forget to hit that like button. Please share with those like-minded souls. And please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. I already see YouTube is acting up again. They're taking people. Wisdom will get out there. So until the next time, guys, bye.